You had a cheesy smile, just frozen. That's your grandfather here. Yeah.
You'll see. You'll see.
They invented plastic, I think, just recently. Denver Broncos Mile High View. No commercials, no bullshit. I am recovering from getting COVIDs from a double injected individual. I thought that was a conspiracy theory, but they got me sick. You gotta love it. Anyway, I am on pretty much recovered. Got you in stereo. There we go. So we are going to discuss this phenomenon called tight end Dulcich. Uh, it seems like this draft pick is like taking it's taken a life of its own, taken on a life of its own. You'd think that they just picked up Mr. Gronkowski or Kelce, and I think that was even mentioned in some of the footage I sent you. You know, I don't quite really get it, but we were also told we're killing it. No, we were told that we're lazy. We're lazy, and I am definitely going to dispute that and kind of use their own analogy against them. They don't think there's thinking going on out there, and just think it's just reacting. Uh, Also, people want to know, well, what do you mean D plus? And this would also go with the Nick Burrito pick. Oh, did I say that right? Oh, it's Benito. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't know what I'm talking about. So that's kind of rolled up in all this too. Is how we came up with this. We just rolled out of bed and said D just because we hate the Broncos so much. Also, we are lining up a Saints fan, and it's a really important conversation with this individual. He was discussed with me in detail. He agrees with our middle out approach. And he said Sean Payton was also caught in the trap of edges, corners, receivers, receivers, and they didn't get into the real competitive mode until they brought in their boy from Miami as a GM, and they started getting the interior fixed. And then things really started to take off for them. But that's going to be a different show. But just that it's coming up, and it's really important for people to understand. Me and Colby aren't the only ones. It's a league-wide thing that's going on now. But I want to start off with Dulcich. And I want to mix it in with the grade that we gave the Broncos, the D. I gave it the plus. You just said D. I think I gave it the plus. And I think I'm going to get into that with you too. So we were saying that the pick for Dulcich didn't make sense because, first of all, from what our intelligence gathering says, based on 2021, not 2018, 1918, 1745. We're talking about current time. Dove Alley says that Russell Wilson is going to dictate the offense. Am I getting that wrong? Is he going to be the maestro, or did I just make that up?
No, you're correct.
Yeah, Dove Alley did say that this is a Russell Wilson production, right?
Correct.
Okay. Logic dictates I go to Seattle and see what the heck Russell Wilson, not Rodgers, Russell Wilson was doing. And I'm assuming, because we all don't know exactly offensively what they're going to run, there's an outside zone. But we're assuming that it'll be much like what he ran in Seattle, a 4-5 wideout. This is pre-hand surgery. Now, one thing I noticed when I was doing film study on Russell Wilson, I don't understand why this gets hardly any views. I think you ought to be looking at film of Russell Wilson. Why you don't is beyond me. But what I noticed was that tight ends weren't utilized in the sense of a Rich Scangarello, I don't know, Kyle Shanahan, this kind of Gary Kubiak type of a way that when we say tight end utilization. The Dulcich pick, in my opinion, I'm going to get a little bit ahead, but just say the Dulcich pick, in my opinion, was a wide receiver pick more than so-called tight end pick. But I want to talk about what I'm seeing with Russell Wilson. Prior to his hand surgery, they were running 4 or 5 wide out sets. So I'm assuming that we'll get back to the pre-hand surgery. They tried to get back into that when they brought Russell Wilson back from his hand surgery. But what had happened was he was off. So it would look like to me they were doing more rollout throws to the tight end, more short passes, and getting him kind of built right back in as he was coming back. So I don't think the hand was the biggest issue in the world, but it definitely was an issue, and I think they were trying to address that issue. Obviously, he's had all his time off, and I think they're going to be back to pre-injury, methodology. So, because we said that he is not going to be utilized, from what we can see, our intelligence gathering from Seattle, that you're not going to get the, I guess the argument I would make on their side. I think I can make a better argument for their case than they made. They said we were lazy. It was lazy that because in 2018. Russell Wilson threw to tight ends. Well, we didn't say he wouldn't throw to tight ends. We're talking about utilization. In a 4 or 5 wide out bombs away, you just did a Schobert, Schobert video. And I have some critiques about your I got everybody all screwed up in my head. Dulcich. What's that new guy they got? They were doing Dulcich.
Greg Dulcich.
Dulcich, yeah, Dulcich. So, oh yeah, Dulcich. Well, because I got Dulcie here, I got to get to that too. Gordon, I got to explain these things. These are a lot more complicated than the people who aren't really being good journalists. We put a lot of time into what we do, lots of time. So it was said that, Russell Wilson in 2018 uses tight end. You just did a video with Schobert and showed how he can block and run. And that's a way that Shermer was using the scheme. But what I'm seeing with the Seattle, it's just air raid. It's just go. Go. Yeah, there's some sit down routes. I don't really understand the pick, is what I'm saying with Dulcich. I don't understand the pick. Let me just correct these 2018 people and try to understand this for a second. That the Seattle media, they make our point, and these people don't just sit there and cheerlead. What we got with Dove Valley, what we have with the media out here, it's like a used car sales lot. Upsell. Don't ever talk about the downsides. Just upsell. 2018, Jesus, he was lighting it up with his tight end. Now, what's on the 2018 crowd out there says we don't know what we're talking about. This is a recent article from Seattle addressing how the tight end position is underutilized. What we said. And this has to do with a recent article. Will Disley, was the tight end of 2018 that I assume these people were referring to. And the Seattle media, that's not a bunch of cheerleaders and that doesn't question anything. They actually do something called being objective. It says Will Dissly's contract listed as one of the most head-scratching moves of 2022 free agency. This is Seattle talking about their tight end. And if I can find it, no doubt that Dissly is a popular player among Seahawks and players, but this deal feels like a fairly hefty price tag for someone who's unlikely to be the top receiving tight end on the depth chart over Noah Fant. Well, they get into that, but that's not the point. Do I get into it? They talk about, I think this may be it. There's only been one season in his entire career, and this is with Wilson. There's only been one season in his entire career where the plan was for him to be tight end one, and that was in 2019. Otherwise, it was Ed Dickerson in 2018, depth chart below Dickerson's injury. So you got whatchamacallit here got injured. But they're saying that they give you the actual, there's only been one season in his entire career where the plan was for him tight end that otherwise he was below Ed Dickerson 2018 depth chart before Dickerson's injury. Greg Olsen in 2020 and Gerald Everett in 2021. We know Dissly's red hot starts at his rookie and sophomore. And of course I would lose it, but they said that, the position's just not utilized enough to give him more money than players of tight ends on other teams. So while they're all getting, yes, they have balls thrown to them. I just wish, this would have to happen. I didn't highlight it. Now it's freezing on me. But here we go. Here we go. Proceed to assign Dissly to a 3-year, $24 million contract that makes him one of the position's top 15 highest paid players. It's a big commitment to a player who missed most of his first 2 seasons due to injury, 10 games playing during 2018, 2019, and who doesn't offer much as a pass catcher, 46 receptions for 418 yards and 3 touchdowns. Now, this was one of their hotter offensive linemen that they wanted to, tight ends that they wanted to pay, but he's obviously 46 receptions for 483 yards. It's just not a position that it was ever really featured. They got rid of Olsen. It just wasn't a high. It wasn't a high priority. The usage of tight ends in that system. Explain to me, because I went back and looked at 2018 film, and I apologize for all that. I was just trying to find some stats quick on that in the article. But explain the difference between the system was running in 2018 and now, if you could.
For Seattle?
Yeah, for Seattle, excuse me.
Okay, so 2018, and let's talk about 2018. Okay, then I'll get into their system now. The system they had in 2018 had the principles of a West Coast zone running scheme, play action pass off of that. And you saw that a lot. The other online platforms like to bring up 2018 against Denver. So let's supplement that game with facts here. The fact is, number one, that game proved our point more and more and more. We need coverage linebackers because our coverage linebackers stink to high heaven. And our defensive line couldn't really get the job done outside of Von Miller and Bradley Chubb during that game in some instances during that game, but it was a very close game in that I remember that game precisely. But that 2018 version of the Seahawks had the same principles as the Kyle Shanahan offense did, as the Packers with Matt LaFleur, not who's the coach of the Denver Broncos now again? What's his name? Oh, Nathaniel Hackett. There we go. You're muted. But anyway, uh, but anyway, Nathaniel Hackett. Nathaniel Hackett wasn't calling plays in Green Bay. It was mostly Matt LaFleur. And when you take a bigger scope of things, now that we jump into 2020, because the 2018 version had the West Coast zone run principles, now you have the air raid principles. And I fully believe that the Denver Broncos are going to do exactly what Seattle did. 4 to 5 wide receiver sets. We saw it last year. Go vertical, and this guy, Greg Dulcich, fits that to a freaking T. So when you talk about certain playbooks, I just want to go back to a system where we are functional in, because under Gary Kubiak, we had the principles of the West Coast zone run scheme. Under even Rich Scangarillo, he brought some into that Kyle Shanahan, Gary Kubiak, Mike Munchak influence into the Broncos scheme. And later on during the year, it didn't start off well, but later on during the year, you saw players that fit that scheme get more and more comfortable. And what did Elway do? Pull that under the rug. So when you talk about Seattle and the differences between that 2018-20, this current version of the Seattle Seahawks, the principles do not overlap like the online platforms want you to believe. They are very different in their schematic scheming and technique work from that 2018 team to this current situation up there in Seattle.
Thanks. Thank you. So what I'm trying to get at. Say that again.
Sorry, I had a brain fart. I was just trying to think
of it. Well, I've been just recovering myself, and I'm trying to go through that article, while I'm on, thinking I got to find this. But so I got the stats. So it's only 26 receptions or something like that. So, and that was I don't know, that was last year in 2021. So,
how is it also to the online platform? How is it lazy on our part when we're basically bringing up the differences between that version and this version now? I don't think that's lazy. I think that's people doing their homework, because Russell Wilson doesn't really utilize the tight ends in a way that they want you to believe. He doesn't. It's not a prominent position that he looks for. He looks for a lot of the. He looks for a lot of the things in the middle of the field. He looks a lot for those deep balls when he has time to throw in the pocket, because Russell Wilson's strictly a pocket passer. I don't think he's a guy that is, he runs around in the backfield, but his biggest success is when he has time in the pocket, just like any other quarterback in the National Football League.
Yeah, that's what you want him to do. You want to give him time in the pocket. This is why this grade gets a D. This because, in my opinion, this wasn't at all a Russell Wilson friendly draft. Go ahead.
Well, no, the Greg Dulcich pick was, to me, it was a flat out F for me, because number one, he wasn't even my second best tight end on the big board. He wasn't my second best tight end when I was doing prospect scouting this year. He was my 5th to 6th best tight end in this draft.
Well, this is my thinking with the pick of Dulcich was you the Denver Broncos obviously wanted a receiver more than you wanted a tight end.
Like that was such a big need.
Yeah, when you've got already, you have many other needs that need to be taken care of, and you're going to get exploited, just like this year, like you were last year. And it's going to be interesting to see how did you get in the draft? Did you get players who can come in, and maybe I didn't see anybody in the linebacking, so that's not going to happen. So, but I want to get to Dulcich. Dulcich to me was this. When you pick Dulcich, you're saying that we want a receiver. Okay, well, if that's what you want to do, it's not what I would do, but if that's what you wanted to do, why did you get Nick Bonito, which is another topic of conversation we talked about? That's a completely you could have, instead of getting Nick Bonito, if you really wanted a wide receiver, that's really what you wanted, a wide receiver. You should have went up and got a wide receiver who's rated better than I want to keep wanting to say Tolbert. Say it again.
Dulcich.
Dulcich. Because Tolbert you could have got Tolbert, the wide receiver. He went to Dallas. He would have been available, and he's rated higher. He's faster. He's more consistent. Now, what the other platforms don't do is actually do an objective job. They'll upsell, upsell, upsell. All they did when I listened to the podcast about us being lazy, they never once was objective. They didn't even really glance over the negatives of Dulcich. Didn't even glance over it. He's not a blocker. He gets basically tackled on shoestring tackles, and he isn't consistent. You could have, like I said, you could have drafted Tolbert, who's much more consistent. And what I didn't understand is why would you take a guy that's a 50-50? He's a 50-50 receiver. He's not consistent. Why would you make him your third down guy if there's a chance he's going to drop the ball? That doesn't make any sense to me either. Then you re-sign Schaubert. My apologies, Schaubert. So again, I don't know why you picked it. This pick just makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever, especially after the Schaubert re-sign. Do you think Schaubert is right now better than the Dulcich player? I do. I think so. Because he can block and he can catch.
Okay, so let's take a few steps back here because I want to address something that you brought up when it came to the Greg Dulcich pick. Number one, it made no sense to me because when you take an objective point of view, like we do on this channel, number one, that wasn't even your biggest need. It was a need, but it wasn't your biggest need. You didn't need to, I was corrected that we didn't trade up for Greg Dulcich, and I was wrong about that. But again, you still spent a high premium draft pick on this guy when you could have got a Devontae West, center out of Arizona State, who, again, Lloyd Cushenberry, again, that's another liability out there. That, again, there are much bigger needs in this Denver Broncos personnel standpoint. You got a guy in Greg Dulcich. I talked about his strengths and weaknesses. My pro comparison to him is Trey McGiddy. Hasn't really panned out for him. He was a former Georgia guy a few years ago. Dulcich is 6'4", 243. Potential to succeed working downfield, demeanor to get better as a blocker, stacks defenders, and tracks the ball into his hands over his shoulder. Now, when you talk about all that stuff, when you wrap it all up into a big old present for somebody, to me, what that says is he's a very inconsistent player. And when I think about Greg Dulcich, that's the thing I think of is inconsistency. I want a guy. If you were going to draft a tight end of that, I would have traded up and got Woods from Virginia Tech, who's a way better player. You could have traded up for Trey McBride. You could have got Jay Cotton, Jay Ferguson from Ohio State, who was my third favorite tight end in this draft. Jay Ferguson from Ohio State. That guy reminds me a lot of Eric Sauber on steroids. Like, you want to talk about a guy on steroids? There's Eric Sauber or Jake Ferguson. But again, this Greg Dulcich pick just makes no sense to me because you're not running a system that's going to predicate his strengths to what you're going to be applying in this schematic scheme that Denver Broncos are running. That 4, spread it out, throw it 20-plus yards, hope and pray that the receiver catches it down the field, which he's very inconsistent at doing. He's not a consistent pass catcher.
Not only that, but you have the blocking problems too. He's not really a blocking tight end either. And this is the way I see it. You wanted a receiver. To me, all it did is tell me what you really wanted was a receiver, not a tight end. Mm-hmm. You really wanted a receiver. And my take was you should have went and got a receiver with that. Instead of Benito, you should have went up and got a much better receiver. Go ahead.
And this goes to our point, again, why we are very consistent on this channel. Then why did you pay $84 million combined to 2 players on that receiving core? If you wanted a receiver so bad, you have Cortland Sutton, you have Jerry Jeudy, you have Tim Patrick, you have KJ Hamler, who I think is going to have a very successful season in the slot. That's where I think Russell Wilson's going to be. His bread and butter is a KJ Hamler. I'm the only one out there talking about this. I
think that was a good call. Yep.
But again, why did you trade away Trinity Benson? Yeah, okay, maybe he didn't have the success that was successful in Detroit, but he's still going to be a valuable player on that depth chart. Again, you could have kept Trinity Benson. But to me, what you're telling me, Denver, from this pick from Greg Dulcich, I completely agree with you. You wanted a receiver. So again, when I'm thinking about, hey, the Denver Broncos wanted to get a receiver, then why did you pay $84 million combined to two players that really didn't deserve it? I like Tim Patrick. I like his hard work. I like his upbringing. Cortland Sutton to me is a possession physical type of receiver who relies more on leverage than anything else. And when you think about Cortland Sutton and Tim Patrick and combining those two contracts, that's eating up half of your cap. And on top of that, did those players really deserve it? Me personally, no. I don't see it. Because now you're telling me, oh, we need to go get another receiver. So you're still going by that same model by what John Elway lives by, because he was in the draft room process. I mean, if you still don't think he exists, there's no helping you. There's no saving your ass. But anyway, with the Greg Dulcich thing, to me, what that told me is that you don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're doing because you're just grasping for straws and hoping for the best, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think you still could have picked up Benito afterwards. I think he still would have been there.
But again, this goes to my Nick Benito point.
Yeah,
again,
no, yeah.
How are you going to utilize him? Because again, I heard this from Sports Talk Radio, and I sent you a voice message a few nights ago that just got me so pissed. How people, you weren't on the Randy Gregory thing before we signed him, so I don't want to hear from you people because you weren't talking about him during that free agency process the first 2 days, 3 days before we got him.
But who are you talking about?
Chandler Jones and Von Miller. But anyway, why am I hearing from people that Randy Gregory and Nick Benito are going to be on par as the 2015 version of DeMarcus Ware and Von Miller? I mean, you got to be kidding me. And to the people that say that, oh, Nick Benito was a great pick, did you watch my film review? Because the pro comparisons and the comparables to me are Vic Beasley. And when you think about that, you got to utilize him in a certain play package way, like the Dallas Cowboys do with Micah Parsons. You have to send him in on multiple blitzing stunts. You have to have him play coverage every once in a while, which I think that's one of his underappreciated strengths is playing in that coverage, dropping him back, playing that zone tight coverage on the sideline, having him roam that side. But again, what is Denver going to do ultimately, in my opinion? They're just going to send him straight because he's a one-trick pony like Randy Gregory opposite of him, and they're just going to get run at this whole time, and they won't be able to do jack shit.
Yeah, I see a 4-3 hybrid system in the future. Well, that was it too. Is if you're running a 4-3 system, maybe then you do pick up a Nick Benito.
It makes sense, but you have 3-4 player personnel, which blows my mind because, you'll get the Wanus of the world and everybody who will just live by what Sports Talk Radio says and say that, oh, well, this is going to be a 4-3 system. You got Nick Benito who fits a 4-3, but you have a player personnel in Denver that is a 3-4 centric team.
So it was Kareem Jackson, in an interview, and he was interviewing with it was him being interviewed and the DC being interviewed, and he said, according to Jackson, is that this is definitely a 3-4 defense that they plan to implement, which makes sense because you said when you looked at the coaches, they all come from a 3-4 system.
Mm-hmm. I tried telling people.
But they don't want to listen. They want to hear this. They want to hear the used car salesman. Okay, that's what they're interested in. They don't want to hear about the rust. They don't want to hear about the carburetor being bad. They don't want to hear about that it needs a tune up. It's misfiring. They don't want to hear the reality of what's going on. They want to know that they're getting a brand new car, even though it's used. because any used cars salesman will give you that. And there's plenty. That's all that you get with Denver media. There's no objectivity. That's why I brought up the Disley article from Seattle, because at least they're objective. They have some objectiveness. So now, but you have Dom Capers creeping around back there too, probably wanting to do a little experimenting.
Well, and again, I wanted to answer your point earlier because I got off track about is Eric Saubert a better tight end already than Greg Dulcich? Well, obviously, because Greg Dulcich hasn't played in the NFL yet. But I think Eric Saubert is a very unappreciated player by Denver Bronco fans in that organization.
Oh, yeah.
The little we got to see of him, he was doing things that, quite frankly, Albert O couldn't do. I mean, yeah, Albert O is a athletic freak, but not Greg Dulcich, Eric Saubert is if you want to talk about an overall solid tight end, I'd take Eric Saubert 7 days out of the week, in my opinion, because he can do things that necessarily Dulcich and Albert O can't do. And that's block on a consistent basis. That's catch when needed to. And that's doing certain things in certain route formations and route techniques with his lower part of his body that, quite frankly, Albert O and Greg Dulcich can't do, because Greg Dulcich isn't a guy that is going to be finesse. He's basically just a go tight end / receiver. He's not a guy that can run right.
That's why I was going to disagree with one of your assessments. During Dulcich, you said drop him back and have him block. I absolutely wouldn't have him. I would never have him do that, because he's not good at it. I would not do that.
Who?
Dulcich.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't have him do that. I would never have him drop back to block, because he's not good at it.
The reason I say that, because if you were a proper organization and you wanted him to develop is that during the preseason and get him reps, I can see that. But this isn't the proper organization to do that.
Yeah, but then again, you're hoping that he develops. But with Saubert, you already got somebody. Beck, you have somebody that can block back there already. I don't even know. Is Beck's? He's still with the team, right?
Well, yeah, but Beck's more of that fullback. He's going to be playing more of that fullback hybrid.
Block. That's what he can do. So you get people doing what they can do. Don't try to experiment on my team. I mean, this guy's not good. Maybe in the preseason, like you said, but what this guy is good. Yes, he's a receiver.
They experiment. That's what they do best. They experiment. No, they don't.
Yeah. Look what happened. What really pisses me off when I was listening to We're Lazy, how they were trashing Noah Fant. Noah Fant was completely his skill set was. Yeah, he's another guy. He's another receiver. Why are you making him into a blocker? Why? You hired him to be a receiver. Just let him do his job. Don't fool yourself. Just have him run out and catch passes.
And what system did he thrive in? That Rich Scangarello play action when you had him doing shallow crosses over the middle?
Yeah.
When you had him do stop and go routes up the sideline, or had him
stop and go up the sideline. Yeah.
No, but you know what? Sure.
He has speed. Why are you having him block? Utilize his speed. And another thing is he was hard to bring down. Shermer. To me, Shermer ruined that guy.
Elway ruined it.
Well, because Elway brought Shermer in, not Fangio.
I know.
I mean, Fangio's prime was saying, "Okay, Elway, you just take care of the offense. I'll deal with the defense."
Yeah, but then again, Fangio's downfall was he couldn't get the players that he wanted to run his system.
Well, yeah, because he signed on with Elway. No. We're gonna go get Jerry Jeudy. No.
Yeah, we're gonna
in the slot.
Yeah, we're gonna go pay Juwan James. We're not gonna pay DJ Reader.
Yeah, no. Juwan James. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, in that case, you know what? That came out that Fangio was livid about that whole Juwan James thing.
I would too.
And how do you explain How can you explain to me that Fangio is running the offense when he's totally pissed off about Juwan James? He had nothing to do with that, and he was stuck with that guy and stuck with having to pay him. He couldn't bring anyway. Like you said, if they can't get it, they'll never get it.
No, they will never get it. This draft was a complete shit show outside of 3 picks.
Now, could those 3 picks come in and save the Broncos at all if you with the proper organization?
I've said that about those draft picks. You know, Matt Henningsen Matt Henningsen has a lot of work to do, and I get that. His pro comparison was me to Derek Wolfe. And Mile High Huddle, don't tell me I'm lazy about that comparison because you guys don't do film review except for 1 or 2 clips on your highlight reels. Okay, this is where I get into in-depth analysis. Okay, this is where I covet these 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and undrafted free agents. Okay, this is where the big guy. This is where I come in. Okay, you guys can go to the sidelines and take a breather. This is where the big dogs come in, okay? And I'm talking about myself and this man right here. This is where we thrive, okay? Luke Wamberg, again, that's another guy. You're putting him in his own running scheme, and he's a power run schemer, just like Nick. What's his name? Natane Moody. You're putting those guys in the systems that they're not going to thrive in. Uzuriki, love that pick. I think that someone in that organization has a clue because that guy's an absolute stud as a one-tech nose tackle who could possibly replace Mike Purcell. And then Matt Henningsen is your prototypical 3-tech defensive end who I think can be your best defensive pass rushing lineman in 2 to 3 years and finally just supplant this bullshit notion about Draymond Jones being an all-pro level defensive lineman for the Denver Broncos. Absolute bullshit.
So, what I see is in their future a tough schedule. It's already getting leaked out. Of course, they're going to go to Seattle, but they're going to have to deal with the NFC West. They're going to have to deal with the AFC West. They're going to have to deal with the likes of probably, I'm sure they'll get one easy rubber match or something, but they're going to probably have to deal with a Buffalo, a Ravens. They're probably going to deal with maybe even a Pittsburgh, Cincinnati. It's not going to be an easy schedule, and I can see Lord Cushenberry there getting pushed right back into Wilson's face. Wilson being fed to the edge, exactly what we say you need to do. Not being able to work the pocket. Although it was nice to see that they were protecting Drew Lock on that Week 17. But that defensive line, guess what? It got upgraded for the Chargers. You ain't going to see it.
True.
You're not going to see that defensive line coming, barring injury.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to see this offensive line just get absolutely row graded by these top-notch defensive lines like the Chargers with Sheldon Joseph-Day, Austin Johnson, who they brought over from the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Did they get it? Did they get what me and you've been saying? Did they listen to our channel, you think? Say, yeah, maybe. Yeah. We're going to get that push-up. Oh, don't worry. Wilson's going to run around. Well, okay. From, again, what I've watched.
But is he going to be doing that 17 weeks plus the playoffs?
Yeah.
I mean, you guys have to ask yourselves this. This isn't Madden 22 where you can do all the time. This is real-life football. And I think these people live in the Madden 22 realm because it's just edges, corners, receivers, quarterback. But again, you're not looking at the fundamental differences that make the teams that are good different from the teams that are shit like Denver.
Yeah. No. Well, that's why I want to bring in Eddie. They had Breeze, so you can't say they did. They had a quarterback problem, and it was all edges.
Over Wilson, though.
What's that?
I would take Breeze over Wilson. I love Breeze.
Yeah, but you got to do the inside out approach.
Well,
with either quarterback. But the bottom line is, we got quarterbacks killed going all the way back to Trevor Siemian, all the way up to Bridgewater.
I mean, yeah, and then Russell Wilson will be the latest victim when he leaves in 2 years.
If he has to run around like sooner or later, yeah. No, it's just a lesson, I guess, that yet again that has to be learned.
Well, let me provide a lesson because we got to be the big daddies here. We got to be lesson teachers. These receivers haven't proven anything to me yet.
No, I know.
I got a lot of work to do, baby. They got a lot of work to do. I got to see them separate. I got to see them not stop on routes. I
Yep.
got to be able to get to the second level like a DK Metcalf and a Tyler Lockett, Doug Baldwin.
That's going to be extremely important with this offensive line.
Oh, well, we'll see what happens because, Jerry Jeudy's going to have this breakout year. Okay, I heard that last year. So.
Oh, it's another prediction. I know you're saying more Hamler.
Yep, I love Hamler more than I do Jerry Jeudy.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely.
KJ, there's a lot more playing time than Jerry Jeudy, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's a lot to like with Hamler. I think Wilson will take
Russell
advantage.
likes Hamler. Russell
absolutely.
Doesn't like Jerry Jeudy much, though. Shocker, right?
He didn't mention him.
No, he didn't mention him. Pissed him off to high heaven.
Yeah, well, but he did say the same thing about Russell Wilson's passes that he said with Bridgewater.
They have touch.
Yeah, both had all this touch.
He didn't throw it hard, so I'll be able to catch it like Drew Lock.
So anyway, I just wanted to get this Dulcich thing. And this whole laziness. I mean, there's a reason why we're, I'm seeing 4 or 5 wide out type air raid. That's what I see in their future.
Yeah, I agree.
So I just, you should have went and got a receiver. That's what another receiver.
Wow, we desperately needed another receiver.
Well, they got one, and a guy that fits a 4-3 system. They got it.
Denver makes sense.
Yeah. Hiring guys that are in power running, not zone blocking. I don't know. So I don't know. Yeah, I know these are we're not used car salesmen here. We're not just here to tell you upside. Oh my God, they said a downside. Oh, I don't know what they're going to do with all this winning. I really don't. Are they going to know what to do with all this winning?
What winning?
They're 17-0 in the off season. Again.
They were 16-0 last year.
They were 16-0 last year and 16-0 the year before too.
And the year before that, and the year before that.
No, I know. Nobody seems to learn their lesson with this out.
No. Just believe everything those online platforms tell you.
Year in and year out.
Yep.
Say no evil against the almighty Dove Valley.
Yeah, you'll get monetized.
Yeah. Anyway, that was my my Dulcich thing. So I think it could have been better, but I'm not feeling all that great. So
yeah, he has the corona.
I got the corona from a double injected individual. That's not supposed to happen.
Yeah, it's not supposed to happen. Nope.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Well, so the real world. So goes the real world.
I'll be on top of my A game when we do this Saints interview, though. I'm excited for this. I hope people realize what they're looking. I hope people tune in, get your popcorn ready, because this is going to be an interview unlike anybody else has seen before. So, prepared, because this isn't going to be what you think it is.
Yeah. And why our points are valid points, and why teams like the Chargers are doing what they're doing, teams like the Chiefs are doing what they're doing. Buffalo does what it does. Yeah, the Rams do what they do. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You'll have the fans. He's not a Saints fan. You just hired him on.
Yeah, I don't know what. It's always something, isn't it?
Yep.
All right. Well, let you know. Take care.
You too. Bye.
Keep watching film. Bye-bye.
Bye.